Hi everybody. So today I thought I would share with you the final version of the Steampunk album. This is part 4. I decided not to do a sped up version of the final part of it, so that way we can slow it down a little bit so you can really take a look at some of the detail and some of the things that were done throughout this book. This is how I chose to finish the cover of the final part of it. And as you saw in part 1, I used Distress ink on the car and a bunch of Glimmer Mist and some Lindy Stamp Gang sprays to really distress out the car and make it look kind of rusty and old. And then I just did like a suede binding here. It's like a suede paper almost. And I just ran some steampunk gears down here to cover the two seams. And then on the spine of it, I just did this little charm. Just kind of has some random things going on, gears and bling and keys and some more little small gears. And there's a piece out of the collection that I just did glossy accents onto a fragment charm and hung on there. So there's the cover of it. And the first page, move this over here so you can see a little better. The first page, I did the steampunk paper in the background, and these are just gear die cuts that I did on craft paper, and I distress inked them and sprayed some Lindy's over the top of this. And the color that I used for this was a moon shadow, and I believe it was Treasure Island Aqua. And then I just fussy cut this image in the hand out of the paper collection and put it here. And this is just a coin envelope that I cut and then did a circle punch here, and I stamped it up with the gear stamp and some script writing stamped in the background. Did the little flying fish and popped them all up, and then this little tag that slides into the pocket, I just did it on craft paper, and again I did the Distress ink and the Lindy Stamp Gang, so it's got quite a shine. It's pretty shiny, sparkly. And then on the back side I did the same thing, and I stamped just some random stamps on it. So you could use one side for photos, one side for journaling if you want, or photos on both sides. And then over here on this page, this was the double slider pocket that I did, but in the background I used some embossed paper. I did it on the core cardstock, so when I sanded it down I got two-toned finish to it, and then I sprayed some Lindy's over the top of it and used some of their filigrees and Lindy Stamp Gang those as well, and just finished the corners off. The image here in the middle, I cut her out. I actually cut it out in two parts. I cut the gear out first and layered that up actually with just one layer of pop dots, and then this image of her I cut out separately and I popped her up on 2 sets, so she really stood up off of the gear. So there's really 3 layers to this. And then I just did some gears here that I distress inked and sprayed as well, and glued some metal gears to the middle, and just did a little eyelet and hung a little key here. And then for the slider part, you pull the tabs, and I did the image that was in the collection and I split it up so you could have her top portion here, and then of course the bottom portion down here with the balloon, and you can put photos or whatever you want there. And for this page I did, these flowers were just some white petal flowers that I did, and I stamped them with a numbers background stamp, and then I just did some Distress ink vintage photo and some walnut stain, and then I sprayed it with the Lindy's, and I just kept layering it as you saw in the video. And then this is a metal graphic 45 flower that I put on top, and this is actually a closure for jewelry making, this metal leaf that I found, and I just stuck a flower brad through that to hold all my flowers together, and just did some black bling back here. And then I just ran this trim down here. Now for this part right here, I cut out the Tim Holtz clock face and Let me slide it over so you can see better. Cut out the Tim Holtz clock face, and then I did a doorknob here for the pole. And behind the clock face, I layered an image out of the collection so you could see the flowers through the clock. And then I fussy cut this image of this lady out, popped her up on pop dots, did some glossy accents, the gears down in her eyes and in her arms. And then the butterfly I cut out of the collection and put glossy accents over it and popped it up and kind of molded it so it had a little bit of dimension to it. Same thing with this one over here. So then there's a magnetic closure here, and you just pull the knob and it'll release it. But from this flower, actually, there's a chain that runs underneath this up over top of these gears, which I layered up in the middle of these flowers and dangled a key, and so that it'll just dangle in down by the butterfly. So when you open it up, I just did kind of a mini album, and I did it out of craft paper, and I just kept it round. I did it a little smaller than the clock face so that you couldn't see it when it was closed. And then I stamped out the pages, just some random stamps. Here's the wings with the clock and some gears, another clock, do not disturb, figure 3, and then in the background I just did a script stamp. Hands, here's some numbers, here's some ink splatters, keys. So you could put photos on these pages, or you could put journaling in these, whatever it is that you'd like to do. And then when you're done, it closes right up. Then there's this page, which is probably my most favorite page in the whole entire book. It kind of started out with the paper. The paper with Graphic 45 just makes your imagination run wild, or at least it does mine. So what I did with her was I cut, this is actually a circle in the paper, and I cut it all out. And she, on her wings, I added the metal wings to the top portion of her wings, added some Swarovski crystal bling there. And in her top hat in the paper, she actually had red roses there, so I just stripped down some mini rosebuds till I could get them about the size of the ones that were in the paper, and glued them down. And same thing here. And I fussy cut out her clock that she has hanging around her neck and popped it up on pop dots. And then this little time flies piece, I cut it out, and this is just a piece of jewelry. It's a clock face with some bling around it, and then a little chain, and I left the chain hanging, and I just put it on a little brad so it spins. And then I fussy cut out this image, the vine and the roses, the rose, out of the collection and popped it up. And this is a 3D Jolie's clock face. And I glued it down because there's a clock behind this in the paper. So then when you, the idea is when you swing open the time flies, this was all put on hinges, and these are just store-bought hinges from Home Depot. And instead of running the nails through them, I did brads. And then this little resin flower is the knob pull. So you just would pull that up, and the hinges allow it to open up. So now you have a photo mat here and a photo mat here for a photo. And then when you're all done, you just close it back up, swing the time flies back down, and it holds it in place. Over here, I just took some white roses, and I distress inked and sprayed these, and glimmer misted them. Did a little skeleton leaf in the background. Excuse me, y'all, I have a cold, so I'm kind of talking kind of funny. And so for the next page, I did the corset paper in the background, and this is just a metal flower that I stuck down on the paper and ran some black bling behind it. And this was another image out of the collection that I fussy cut out and set her up on top of the flowers. And then this, of course, is another image, and I kind of cut it apart so that I could create a little pocket here with her. And it's held shut with a magnet as well. So you would pop the flap up and fold this out. Now you have a place for photos. And then on the bottom of this, I just ran a brown trim, and up here I ran a little piece of bling, little strip of bling. And then up here, this gear, this is the gear that I painted with some crackle paint, and I sprayed some Lindy Stamp Gang as well. And you just pull on the gear, and it pulls out this little card that you could do photos or a journaling spot with. Excuse me. And then over here on my final page, I just used the rose paper back here in the back, and I fussy cut out some roses and I popped them up a little slightly, and then I just glimmer misted some flowers to make them kind of match the flowers in the paper collection. And then I cut out this image of her, and I ran some brads through the whole entire book and tied some seam binding through it, and there's a little lock and key. So the idea is that you can just turn the pages, and they get bigger and bigger as you turn, so your photos could get bigger and bigger as well. And then for the back of it, I just ran the stripe paper like I did in the front, stamped it with my initials, and there you have it, the finished Steampunk mini album. This one was a lot of fun to do. This may be the very first piece that I've ever made that I'm going to actually keep instead of give away to a family member. However, I don't know. I may end up giving it away for a Christmas present. I'm not sure. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And have a great day. Bye-bye.